I mentioned earlier before we started that we bring it back to American people or other countries' progress. With your 3 total deployments, what would be the differences you've seen on this one than the other 2?
Well, the first 2 deployments were in Helmand, and Helmand is where the British focus is. It's a difficult time in Helmand, but progress is being made, and there's a lot of people who have faith in our mission, and I mean not only coalition, but Afghans as well. The difference with this tour is I'm right in the headquarters up here. I'm seeing the strategic direction, whereas I was in the tactical down in Helmand, so I've seen the real hardships that happen. On my first tour, I was patrolling, I was meeting people in Afghanistan, and many, many people are really enthused by what we're trying to do here and encouraged by it. But we have a number of elements who aren't, and there's still that challenge in Helmand for us now. With my second tour, I was a helicopter maintenance engineer. So routinely, I would see helicopters coming back, battle damaged, but routinely also is the experience and the bravery of the pilots, the aircrew that fly to do whatever it takes to make sure that the soldiers are rescued when necessary and taken there. And that includes Afghans as well. If civilian Afghans are injured, those 2 are taken back to our hospital in Bastion, and they're saved there as well, regardless of danger to our own people. But up here in Kabul, I see the strategic direction. I see what we're trying to do overall. I'm working with the government of Afghanistan. I'm working with the 33 coalition nations who work here. And it's an enormous effort from around the world to try and make Afghanistan safer for its own people, as well as for us in a strategic sense. So it's a very important mission that we've got here, and it's amazing to see it from the strategic and tactical over the last 3 years.
What do you do pretty much like on a daily basis?
On a daily basis is a lot of talking, which suits me fine. I like talking, but it's talking not only to Afghans, but it's talking to the coalition partners about the most important time of the 10-year campaign so far, and that's the transition period leading up to the end of 2014. So we're looking at how we're going to achieve what we call the red lines, what we need to do in order to hand transition over back to the Afghans, so that, as I've described previously, a stable, safe, secure place for the people of Afghanistan and for us in the wider world as well. So it's listening, it's learning and understanding, so that I can then prepare information for the people of Afghanistan and also for around the world, so they too can understand what we're doing here.
So you're actually getting information out so people around the world can know what's happening here.
Yeah, that's right. And we have a very difficult challenge because Afghanistan is a counter-insurgency war and nation building. Now, the difficulty with that is, in the media, typical kinetic situations such as battles are very exciting to report. And when we have gains or bravery, stories of bravery, they get reported. But what's not so interesting is when a road is built. There's no real gripping aspect to that story, so we find it very difficult to get progress written about in a contextual, informative and interesting way. So actually conveying what we're doing here is a real challenge. There's also a sense that at home people aren't that interested, which I would say isn't true. I think people are interested because growing numbers of people know others who've served in Afghanistan and want to know about it. But we're trying to educate the media so that they too want to tell about progress and the importance that a stable, secure Afghanistan needs to be.
When you're talking about the media, you're talking about UK media, right? Or other media? Because we're having the same challenge in America. Is it similar in UK?
Yeah, very much. What it is there's, as I say, there's certain things which are good reporting material. And when you're talking about nation building, it's just not good, interesting, exciting, tangible style literacy. So what we want to do is we want to try and make it as interesting so that people understand day to day what we do here. And the idea of training the Afghan people, Afghan army, Afghan police, takes a highly dedicated workforce to do that. Now, they've been doing that since 2009 and have been doing it extremely well, and before in a different context. But now with transition, the ANSF are vital to providing the security for the government of Afghanistan. And as 2014 approaches, suddenly the NATO training mission has gone from a small cog in a big wheel to remaining a small cog, but a very, very important cog to make sure that transition happens and is enduring as well.
Wow, that's interesting. I appreciate you sharing all that. You know, I always ask the troops about care packages from back home, letters. Do you all get that from UK?
Yeah, we do. The mail up here isn't so great because the focus is down in Helmand, and quite rightly the focus is down in Helmand. But yes, we do get stuff. I mean, the British people are very, very supportive to the troops, which is wonderful, and very it makes everyone have a warm feeling that we're being supported back home.
That's great. Would you like to give a shout out? Just look at the camera to some family and friends back home.
Yeah, sure. First of all, to my American friends who I went to university with only 4 weeks ago. Big shout out to them. They come from Colorado, New York, Washington, all around the place. So, hello. And also to my friends and family in Edinburgh and Cambridge.
That's great. I live in Colorado.
Oh, cool.
New friend here.
Wow, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Now, before we go off the air here, you have some pictures behind you.
Yes.
You want to talk about them?
Yeah. These are my two very best friends who've never met me, but I feel like I know them. It's Prince William and the future Queen of England, Kate, just like me. Yep. So yeah, we're good friends. They don't know that yet, but we are.
Okay. Well, hopefully they'll get to see this.
Yeah.
That would be neat. Is that the planes he flew or flies or?
No, the planes in the background are what my predecessor flew. He, the guy who did this job before me, was a fighter pilot. So in dedication to his memory, I've left them up there.
Okay. Thank you very much for your service to your country, but also what you're all doing here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Talking with Heroes. I am Bob Calvert, your host. Ted is behind the camera. We're still here in Kabul, Afghanistan, at Camp Eggers on the NATO training mission base. And we've been, as we mentioned earlier, we're trying to talk to as many people as we can from other countries. And we now have Canada represented here. So could you introduce yourself, where you're from, and how long you've served in the Canadian military?
Sure thing, Bob. My name is Major Ed Steward. I'm a public affairs officer of the Canadian Army. I've been in the Canadian Army since 2001, so about 10 years. And this is my second tour in Afghanistan.
It's your second tour, okay. Talk about the differences you've seen from last deployment to this deployment. Have you seen progress?
Well, the first difference, my first deployment was down south in Kandahar, so
different area.
A much different area. The air conditioning here is very nice, we'll say. I have seen tremendous progress, though, even in my job, especially the progress with the Afghan National Security Forces, the size of their army, the responsibilities undertaken by their police is, I mean, the work is nothing short of miraculous. But, you know, they have good trainers. I mean, Canadian Army were good people. Our colleagues in the U.S., Britain, there's a lot of good people working really hard. And in the 4 years since I was last here, I've got to say I'm really impressed in all the stuff that's gone on.
Okay. Talk a little bit about what you do.
Right now, I'm the Chief of Media Relations. It's a more impressive sounding title than it actually is. But basically, what we want to do is find people such as yourself, members of the Afghan media, the international media, who are interested in finding out more about the training of the Afghan National Army, the Afghan National Police, at all the various levels. And we want to find people within the coalition forces and also within the Afghan forces to get the information they need.
Okay, so you do this, you try to get the information out globally? Or?
Globally, locally, nationally, internationally, you name it. We basically want to help everyone who has questions get the answers they need.
Okay, that sounds good. I asked you this earlier before we started. I always ask the American troops about care packages. Are you all getting them from Canadian people?
Very much so. In Christmas, when I was in Kandahar, I came back from an operation and found 14 packages on my desk. Only 3 of them were from people I actually knew. And I mean, Canada, like the U.S., you know, we're generous people, and it's really touching when you actually get something from someone you don't know. So a lot of people are thinking of us, and this has been going on a long time, and people's generosity is undiminished. So
when we first came over here, we found out how many countries are here. It's truly an international mission, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think the current number, and I mean, very embarrassed if I get this wrong, but I'm going to say 33 is the number of flags currently flying on our flagpoles. It's a real mix. There's a lot of people working really hard to help out the Afghans.
Great. Would you like to look at the camera and give a shout out to some family and friends back home?
Well, to the most important one, to my partner Victoria, who makes it possible for me to be here. I love you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you for your service to your country and to what you're doing here with our troops and for the Afghan people.
Listen, thank you for taking the time to come and interview all of us. you make what we do well known.
It's an honor to do this.
Take care, sir.
Thank you. Folks, once again, we've been reporting here from Kabul, Afghanistan, and I want to thank again Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University for making this trip possible, embryriddle.edu, and Mark Lydon, who introduced me to them. He has his book, Veterans Do This Get Hired, dothisgethired.com. And we will be back on TalkingWithHeroes.com with more from here in Afghanistan.